Good morning.
Morning.
Could you start by confirming your name, please?
My name's Hellen Allen.
Thank you, Helen. And we discussed the prospect of using this recording to share with our numerous clients regionally. Can you confirm, Helen, that you're happy for me to send this link off to other clients, anyone that might have an opportunity for you?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks, Helen. Thanks for doing this morning. So could you start, we had a chat the other day, obviously, but could you start by just giving, for the benefit of people watching this, a little bit of a quick lead-in, an introduction to you and what you've been up to recently?
Okay. For the last 5.5 years I've been with Yell, otherwise known as Yellow Pages, selling the full portfolio of their products. So that's not just the paper-based advertising medium, but also telephony and internet-based as well.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. And you finished there back in March time?
March 2009.
Yeah.
I took voluntary redundancy from them, and since that time I've spent some time doing some voluntary work overseas, and also travelling with my daughter, just spending a bit of family time, kicking back, enjoying myself.
Fantastic.
The first time in a very, very long time.
Excellent. Good for you. I'm sure we all deserve that now and again, don't we? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. And in terms of Yell then, Helen, because I know the company obviously quite well, and I know people that have worked for them before in terms of sales roles, quite structured, in terms of the culture there and the way that they work. Could you tell us a little bit about, with your time with Yell, in particularly in terms of your role day to day and your achievements whilst you were with them?
Okay. The Yell campaigns are made up of book areas. So in the southwest there are 4 books covering basically Devon, Cornwall and Somerset. Each campaign lasts approximately 3 to 4 months, and during the campaigns I would be handling on average about 150 to 160 allocated accounts, and given a target per campaign. In addition to the allocated accounts, I would also be responsible for new business activity on a daily basis. So daily disciplines like collecting 10 pieces of new, fresh telephone data to contact and make prospect appointments and sell new business to. In addition to the allocated accounts and the prospect accounts, if one's productivity was high enough and you were ahead of the game, which invariably I tended to be, then we would be given additional accounts that had maybe been taken off other consultants that weren't able to handle the workload that they were given. Okay. So it's sort of daily visits to small to medium-sized companies, anything from Bob the Builder to Scope Electronics, or so selling at owner level or even at board level as well, and dealing with the advertising campaigns and requirements, not just for local books but also on a national basis as well. So if you identified clients that had a need for wider area coverage, you can do that. You could do that through the books, or you could do that online as well. Fantastic. So it was being able to identify opportunities for growth with all clients. Obviously you're not going to get growth from all of them, so a lot of the time it was all about retaining the customer as well.
Sure.
Sometimes it was a case of taking a bit of loss or decrease, but basically keeping them as a client.
Wonderful.
And finding the best way to do that.
Brilliant, thanks, Helen. And in terms of your role there with Yell, I mean, your official title was Field Sales Consultant.
Field Sales Consultant.
What would the split be, Helen, would you say, in terms, because you just touched on it there, in terms of new business development and account management with your time at Yell? What was the split roughly on that, would you say?
The targeted split was around about 20% of the overall campaign that you were in. Yeah. However, in order to be able to earn any bonuses, you had to achieve more than that. And obviously in the recent trading conditions, you're taking more decrease and more loss, and therefore you have to get more prospects to make up your overall target at the end of the day. Sure. In terms of the number of appointments that you're seeing each week, it's roughly around 20 renewal accounts, and I would generally have about 4 prospects in there as well. Okay. Just to make sure that you basically stay ahead of the game.
Brilliant, okay. So in terms of the role that you're looking for now, Helen, how open-minded are you? I mean, what kind of role are you ideally open to, would you say?
I think my background, I've got a very wide experience obviously with dealing with different sectors, selling to different marketplaces, not only with Yale but in my previous background, which is all recruitment,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
And I think that means that I could essentially go into any kind of industry. In terms of the role, I do believe that I've got good account management skills. I can develop accounts. It's very hard with Yale customers because you have to you actually have to have 2 appointments with a customer, so it's very hard to build that trust and rapport, but I find that I can do that quite easily. And I've found that a lot of the customers that I dealt with would come back to me at later dates for further advice.
Right, okay.
So I feel that my account management skills are very, very good.
Yes.
However, I love the buzz of new business.
Right.
My entire working life has been about developing or setting up new divisions or new branches, and that's something which I think any decent salesperson just loves.
Strives to do, yeah.
New business, even if you are a dedicated account manager, I think that as a natural salesperson, you're always looking out for potentially new business wherever you go.
Fantastic, okay. And what would you say, I mean, you've said your account management, Helen, what would you say are your other key strengths? How would you view your key strengths?
Communication skills, written and verbal. I regard myself as being quite articulate. I regard myself as being quite intelligent, quick to learn. Yale was obviously a completely new industry for me, and that, you start talking about pixels and ad sizes and banners and whatever. It's something that I do regard myself as somebody that can pick new things up very, very quickly.
Okay, wonderful. And you've already said that you see yourself as quite adaptable in terms of the sector, the industry, or indeed the product or service that you might be selling as well.
Yeah, I regard myself as somebody that would be able to sell more on a solution-based sale.
Yeah.
Probably selling widgets and nuts and bolts is not my thing.
Sure.
It doesn't do anything for me, and I need to be able to bring something that I enjoy into the role.
Sure.
So, like I say, widgets and bolts. Probably not.
Wouldn't float your boat.
No, wouldn't float my boat.
Okay, no problem. And just for the record, Helen, it is quite important. It's a little bit sort of crude, I know, to talk about an interview, as they say, but just for the benefit of this recording, ballpark sort of financial in terms of your motivation and what the level you're pitching yourself at. I think it's quite important for any prospective employers to be aware of that. I mean, sort of ballpark, how flexible are you on the package that you would be ideally looking for?
It does depend in the way in which commissions and bonuses are paid.
Yeah.
In terms of my previous basic salaries, you're looking at in excess of 30,000 as a basic.
Yeah.
But the OTEs were a little bit on the low side sometimes. So overall, I'd like to be earning around about the 40 to 50,000 pound mark. But like I say, it does depend on how the commissions and bonuses are made up as to whether I can take a much lower basic, sort of around the sort of 20 to 25 mark.
Sure.
But that would obviously have to be discussed at interview.
Of course. Just gives the prospective employers an idea.
I need to earn a decent amount of money.
Of course.
I've got a lifestyle that I need to support.
Sure.
I've got a daughter that's in private school.
Right,
so
okay. Yeah.
I need to earn some decent money.
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. And what would you say is your sort of more natural sort of default sort of sales style, Helen, as an individual?
Conversational.
Yeah.
Organised and prepared. Totally unconfrontational.
Yes. Okay.
Don't do confrontation. So very conversational, winning the client's trust, building rapport.
Yeah.
And being very, very ethical.
Okay.
That's something which is really, really important to me.
Yeah.
I don't feel I need to knock competition. I sell a product or a service on the strength of its own merits.
Yeah.